third question that I've been asked to answer is, what has Canada learned from its involvement in deeply fractured societies? Canada's been here on the ground in Afghanistan for 8 years. We first set foot in Kandahar with some of our armed forces in 2002. We returned in 2005 to lead the provincial Reconstruction team where I am today. And then in 2008, we had a major infusion of civilians here in Kandahar at the PRT. Affairs from CETA, civilian police, and also Correctional Services Canada. We have learned quite a lot in the 8 years. If I had to boil it down to one lesson, I'd say that we've learned that in rebuilding the relationship between a state and its population, you've got to pay attention to the politics. It's not just a question of capacity. It's not just a question of generating enough economic activity through development. It's not just a question of getting security forces out on the street, whether it's army or police, to ensure that there's a stable environment. The relationship between a population and its government is inherently a political one, and you need to know what those politics are, how the population actually perceives the government. Sure, they have this increased capacity and you're seeing more police, but is that actually seen as a benefit to the population? Do they see that those resources are being used for their benefit, or is there some enduring suspicion? Are there other agendas at play that we're not aware of? It's not just the government versus the insurgency. There's a much greater complexity there. We have to recognize that we are political actors as well. We are bringing the bulk of the security forces to this province, and as an international community to this country. We are bringing the bulk of the revenue as well, and that makes us political actors, whether we like to or not. The people of Kandahar often turn to us for influence, for decisions, because they recognize that role that we play. Now, we are meticulous in respecting the sovereignty of Afghanistan, and yet there is a complex political picture here, and we influence it whether we are conscious of it or not. So there's an imperative that we are conscious of that. That is why Canada spent so much attention and devoted so much resources to the elections in 2009. Yes, this is a difficult environment in which to build a democracy, but it's not about advancing one ideology over another, or trying to turn Afghanistan into Mississauga. No, it's about building that relationship between the population and the government. How do you do that? Well, an election is a natural way to do that. In almost any society on earth, they use elections to ensure that the government has the popular consent of the people. Now, there were some problems in the election in 2009, and that's why Canada targeted its assistance to help address those problems, to solve those problems. We focused on the Electoral Complaints Commission in particular, headed by a Canadian, Grant Kippen. His work and the work of his team was able to increase the confidence that the people of Afghanistan had, the voters had, that their votes actually counted for something. That when there was irregularities, and there often are, it happens in elections around the world, that there was a process in place to find out what had happened, should those votes be discounted or not, and is the overall result, regardless of irregularities here or there, legitimate. Therefore, is the government legitimate? Does it really represent the population? It was because of that focus on the politics and the resources and the effort that we put into that the government of Afghanistan now does have some claim to legitimately represent the people of the country, and that is going to be a factor of stability moving forward.